What's up guys, DukeSloth here, and today we're talking patch notes. We're also talking about my return, but we do that after the patch notes. Let's start with patch 4.20, or rather patch 420, Tides of China. This patch came out, or was shown yesterday. I'm a day late on this, I'm sorry. I just came back, so I felt like still touching upon this for those of you who want to see it now. First of all, we have the skins, as usual, but then we focus more on the balance changes. We have Super Chill Bacchus, which is kind of a hippie Bacchus style. Not really much to say about it. The context of the patch should be clear here. We have Pixel Rush Habwa, who's kind of like a, well, Freya-esque pixel skin. Then we have Sand Viper Ao Kwang, which is a bit inspired by, I'm thinking along the lines of Max. It's called, no. Max Fury? Not quite sure about the name anymore. You know what I mean. Just on the tip of my tongue right now. And has this kind of like Dukes of Hazzard or something. Haven't watched that actually. But yeah, you get the idea. This sandworm, mask guy theme. All that kind of stuff. Mad Max is what I'm talking about. Quickly, the big card versions here for those three. And I think especially the Ao Kwang spin looks pretty cool in game. The Pixel Rush Bar, I'm not so convinced of. It's a bit, I don't know, it doesn't feel so pixely compared to the Freya one. The effects are a bit less, but it's alright. And then we have a lot of skins that are all included in the limited Smite World Championship loot pack. We have Mystic Defender Neath, Queen Aphrodite, and King Thor, as well as Convention Cernunnos. And we also have the Golden Mastery skins for Habwa. Quickly looking at the cards here. This skin kind of like Sailor Moon themed. The Afro skin, really cool. Kind of like the Amateur Sue style. Somewhere in between, like, not the most lewd Aphrodite skin, but also not the most dressed up. And yeah, I think it's pretty cool. It fits the theme. Thor, King Thor. Interesting taunt emote there, reference to what Raffer did with the hammer last year. And the Cernunnos skin, which I actually haven't seen a misstyle on that part in the patch notes. Looks pretty cool on the card at least, but I'm not quite sure what it looks like in game. Quickly going through the voice packs here as well.
Don't be such a hog, man. Just give me some of that good stuff.
Come at me, bro. Show me what you got.
I may have left the desert, but that does not make me a deserter.
Hey, okay, so who is the sassiest supervillain? Sasquatch! Get it?
Oh dear. Right, the Aphrodite skin does not have its own voice pack because it's a Smite World Championship one. Thor, same thing. And Cernunnos, the same thing as well, apparently. And then obviously her mastery update here. That is all either part of the Odyssey or part of the loot pack. So in the Odyssey, we have Super Chill Announcer Pack, Pixel Rush Bois, Sand Viper Ao Kwang, and the bonus item is Super Chill Bacchus. And we get the Chinese quest now. And then in the digital loot pack, we have Mystic Defender Neath, Queen Aphrodite, King Thor, and Convention Cernunnos, as well as #1 global emote. And the Recall skin and the Ward skin, Divine Chest Roll, and 750 fantasy points. Now we have artwork changes for various items, just to match them better with the color scheme of their trees. That's all these. Don't really think I need them out. Some other changes. You can now pick a random announcer pack and loading screen in the profile loadout, and some fixes of smaller kinds. Yeah, and that brings us to the guard fixes. This is actually, I don't know if we would call it a fix, because it's kind of a balance change. All guards that use a controlled dash, Manas Clear the Path, Kusumo Sumo Slam, should always cleanse root on casts, but can be affected by roots during the charge unless their abilities state their root immune while dashing. The following guards have their dash adjusted to be consistent with this rule. Gab's Rollout, Sun Wukong 72 Transformation Tiger Form, Erlang Shen's 72 Transformations Mink Form, Erlang Shen's 72 Transformation Turtle Form, and Kusumo Sumo Slam. So no awkward standing around when you get rooted and use the ability afterwards. That I think is good in terms of consistency, makes it a little more clear how abilities like that in general function. Camazots gets a quick update on the description now that it does affect, like there's 2 Vampire Bats, does affect larger jungle camps as well, not only buffs, but like Oracle and Elemental for the passive stacks. Kukulin gets some corrected descriptions for the new changes. And Daji got a fix where Daji's power would not appear if she was out of sight or too far away. This I have recently experienced, and I think it's very good that this is changed because it's very awkward. Then there's a fix for Kumbhakana, fix an issue where cleansing the movement speed slow from Mighty Yawn would also cleanse the attack speed slow. So that's separate now. Kind of what we see, I think, with Camazotz back in the day with this too, where the effects kind of went away when you cleanse the slow. And that's just a visual fix for Ragin. And for Vamana, fix an issue where cleansing the movement speed slow from Umbrella Rang would also cleanse the attack speed slow. Again, the same thing as with Kumbhakana. And that brings us to the item changes. And here we have a big one first. Soul Eater. 2,400 gold. 30 physical power. 10% physical lifesteal. 10% cooldown reduction. Relatively low stats. Sorry. For an item of that kind, but not super low. Passive. Each time anything dies near you, you gain a stack. Gods, large jungle monsters, and jungle bosses provide 5 stacks. At 100 stacks, Soul Eater evolves, gaining a plus 20 physical power and allowing your abilities to heal you for 10% of the damage dealt. That is something that we've seen at the beginning of Season 4 by accident. Abilities, physical abilities being able to lifesteal. Now, this is a feature. And it's going to be interesting how this develops, because certain characters may be very, very strong with this. I think, for example, Camazotz, who already heals a lot. And this item still is decent outside of that. It still has 50 power, still has 10% cooldown reduction. The 10% lifesteal are kind of alright-ish. And, well, 2,400 gold isn't the craziest price tag. The factor that you have to keep in mind here is that it needs to stack, and that kind of makes it primarily a choice for hunters, which it's probably not like originally like intended for. I feel like it's more of an assassin item. It's supposed to go in that direction, but as an assassin, as a jungler especially, it's a huge trade-off to go into a stacking item. Then again, 5 stacks from a large jungle monster means that it's not that hard to stack in the jungle either. So I can see this being picked up a lot if it turns out to be valuable enough. And I imagine on some characters it could with the passive. It could actually be quite broken on some. I'm not quite sure. I'm not going to say anything too early here because I want to see this and test this more before I make certain statements about this. Bound Gauntlet gets 10% control reduction removed and 15 physical power instead. Better stats for most there. And makes sense in that context. Thorns upgrade. Decreases the duration, or rather decreased the duration from 8 seconds to 5 seconds. 8 seconds of Thorns was long, and it was frustrating to play against, and it was very, you couldn't really counter it because the only counter to Thorns is not attacking, and 8 seconds of not attacking is very, very long. I felt that this was very strong very early in the season already, but with the recent changes and more tanky metas coming up, this item has become even stronger. It's pushed this even more, so I'm not surprised to see this nerf coming up now. It's been asked for a lot, so yeah, had it coming, kind of. Executioner. Provided a little bit too much. I don't think the issue is Executioner there. The cost was increased from 2,250 to 2,350. Nothing crazy. The problem is that the effectiveness of Executioner exists due to the combination with the Vast Gauntlet. You go Devils, you get your power, and then you go X second, you get your protection shred and attack speed. And that's why it's so effective. But I feel like more of this is actually on Devils than on X. But in the end, I see it's as a good change, even though it may hit some characters that don't really build Devils, like Kali. And those should probably be looked at in the future anyways. Amaterasu. Heavenly Reflection. Decrease the cooldown from 14 seconds to 12 seconds and decrease the mana cost from 70 to 90 to 60 to 80. I think this is a reasonable change. She's not been picked up much. This will give her some more damage outside of the utility that she provides in team fights. Something that she can use a little more frequently. And Heavenly Reflection's cooldown felt relatively long before, so I can totally understand where this is coming from. Ardeo. It decreased base health per level from 100 to 95. I'm actually quite confused why it's called base health per level, but I think it's health per level. And so the max level of health is 2,400 instead of 2,500. 500. That means she's a little less tanky. I think that's reasonable. I think that's a good decision. I still think that the cripple is the thing that should be changed because it's just awkward and it's way too strong in certain characters, but that's just me. Overall, a good change, a good nerf, toning it down a little bit. Guan Yu. Mana per level increased from 32 to 35. He always had mana issues. That's going to be fixed a little bit. And decreased the mana cost from 60 to 80 to 60 at R-Ranks or Conviction. So healing is a little less punishing. You can spam a little more without feeling like you're going to go OM right away. Izanami. Izanami got buffed before. And she was a bit good now. And now she gets nerfed, but in other regards. Fade away. Stealth duration decreased from 4 to 6 seconds to 3 to 5 seconds. Kind of going in the direction of Morrigan there, where the stealth is just a little shorter, but it's, you know, it doesn't take that long to activate. And Dark Portal reduced the damage from 250 to 650 to 220 to 620. Decreased the physical power scaling from 130% to 100%. Quite a significant cut here, in my opinion. And this decreased the science duration from 1.5 to 2.5 to 1.5 to 2.1 seconds. So at the end, it's not the longest science anymore. This makes sense. Her ult was just, you know, very good now. That is quicker and easier to land. And the stats on the ult are very bloated. So turning it down a little bit is understandable. It may have been turned down a little bit too much because it lost a lot. Like both base value 30 and then another 30%, especially the scaling is important here. But in the end, her ult is more of a tool to silence the enemy and then hit them with basic attacks, and she can still do that quite well. So I think she will be okay. Kumbhakana. Epic Uppercut. Adjust the cooldown from 90 to 70 seconds to 75 seconds at all ranks. Increased and adjusted audio for this ability, allowing it to more easily be heard over other abilities. So this, I think, is interesting because it's kind of risky. Giving him the ultimate too often, and he can already spam that quite often because many Kumbhakanas have the option to build a little bit of CDR, means that he will be super obnoxious at isolating a single target. Pretty much better than anyone else. And maybe Nada, but yeah. It's very, very frustrating to deal with once you're in the air. And yeah, 75 seconds at the start is not a long time. But we'll see how it goes. The audio effect, on the other hand, I felt like it was always kind of okay to hear. But I don't mind it being easier to hear, so I think it's okay. Poseidon. Poseidon gets some adjustments, more buffs rather. I think those are very reasonable. Increased movement speed on the Trident from 5 to 25 to 10 to 30. I am very tired, as you may have noticed. And the second one is Release the Kraken. How do you make this quick? Can now be cast inside player-made deployables, walls, etc. and so on. And then increase the outer ring damage from 170 to 270 to 175 to 315. Plus 45% of your magical power instead of plus 30% of your magical power. And then in the in the center area, the damage is decreased from 180 to 340 to 175 to 315. So the damage is shifted and it's now a 50-50 split of the damage instead of this, well, rather awkward split where the center hits for a lot more. And the scaling here is also down from 60% to 45%. So just evening it out between the two separate hits, or the two instances that you can be hit off. And that means the total damage here is increased from 610 to 630. Not a major difference at the end. But I can understand why it was done. It was often very unpunishing to be at the edge of the ultimate. It's just like, oh, well, that tickles considering a massive Kraken just hit me. And now you may want to use the Aegis a little more on the outside as well. You may want to use abilities to get out of it, and that's understandable. Poseidon wasn't exactly scary lately. So, good change. Might actually bring him back, at least a little bit. And I think that's good. I miss Poseidon. Raijin. Raijin gets so many changes. In this case, Percussive Storm, the radius was decreased from 6 units to 4.5 units. It was a little bit too easy to hit. It was a little bit too much that it was doing. And the visual effect for it also made a little more clear for the projectiles on double shot. And Reiju will now be more transparent in terms of when it hits an enemy, it moves to the gut more quickly, so you know that you get hit, and Reiju knows that he hit you. I feel like he still needs some nerfs, to be honest, aside of the adjustments here. Obviously, the Percussive Storm change is a good one, but I feel like he's still very dominant, but we'll see. Zeus kind of gets the same treatment as Poseidon, also gets some buffs to make up for his not being played at all. First one is Aegis Assault. Aegis Assault static AoE will now be triggered when the Aegis is hit by Zeus Chain Lightning, only once per lightning. So a little bit of extra damage there. You don't want to stand in that. I think that's a good change. That's an interesting change. It could be very scary because it increases his burst on a single target even more. And Chain Lightning increases the magical power scaling from 40% to 50%. And this should go for every bounce, as far as I understand it. So, decently more damage on Zeus. I think we will see more Zeus now. Not sure if in the competitive scene or at least in casuals. I could imagine the competitive scene as well. Just because he can pop people in like mid-game a lot better. So that's it for these patch notes. I think overall, good patch notes. I'm still missing some of the bottom tier guards that haven't been like touched upon in a very long time. But I think this is good. Overall, these patch notes make me happy. Then we have some other changes that are rather leaked by hires themselves. Discordia will be in the next patch. Most of you probably know that already. We saw her art in the patch notes, so she looks more like fairy-ish. If you're one of the people who wants her to look dark, I would wait for maybe her tier 2, tier 3 skins. I could imagine one of those being like the opposite theme of what she is now, kind of, and be a very dark kind of themed skin. So I wouldn't get too upset just yet. And also, we don't know what she does during her abilities. And then we also learned about Season 5. We learned that there's a Conquest map and that it will be 20% wider. I'm not sure if it was 20% larger or wider, but the maps, in general, the map will be a lot more stretched out. The jungle sides will be bigger. There will be no outer jungle. It will be the central jungle still. But I think that's a very good change. Makes the map more, well, gives it more room to play. A little less rotation heavy, and hopefully pushes junglers into the jungle. And that's all the changes that we know of. And other than that, I can just say I'm glad to be back. I know that a lot of you guys missed me and missed my content instead of other people's. I apologize. I feel like it got a little bit too much towards the end. I was hoping to get more videos done before I left, but it didn't quite work out. And then when I was away, I didn't really get the videos done that I wanted to get done. So yeah, it could have worked out a little better. It is what it is, but I'm sorry. I can only make up for it by pushing content as quickly as possible now. And that's exactly what I will do from tomorrow on. Tomorrow will be something rather unusual. I hope you'll enjoy that. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it as well. So, yeah, you'll see. I don't want to spoil it yet. And feel free to check that out. And after that, we will go to the usual, well, theory topics. We have a lot of things to look at, especially with the new patch. A lot of things that I kind of wanted to cover that I didn't get done before I left. I also want to do some more Paladin stuff. I got some stats from Kret, thankfully, and I can experiment with those. And yeah, that's the plan for now. There's also some videos with Teets coming out. Most of you probably know who she is at this point. She's my girlfriend. And we are, well, we have some fun stuff that I hope you will enjoy. So, I'm back. I missed you guys. I missed making content. From tomorrow on, a little more editing involved as well again. Whereas this one was just mostly talking. And with that, I thank you guys very much for watching. If you're new to this channel, feel free to click the sub button or maybe the bell. It really helps me out. See you for the next one tomorrow. Absolutely, definitely tomorrow. And that's something I haven't said in a long time. DukeSloth out.